Captain Ryker Thorn stood at the large window of the UES Dauntless looking out at the stars. His ship floated in space near the edge of Council territory. The blue and green planet of New Terra hung below them like a jewel. Thorn ran his hand through his gray-streaked brown hair and sighed. After 20 years of service to the Interstellar Council, he never thought he would find himself in this position. "Captain, we received new orders from Council Command," said Lieutenant Samantha Reed as she approached. Her usual confident walk seemed hesitant today. She handed him a data pad, not meeting his eyes. Thorn took the pad and read the message. His jaw tightened as he scrolled through the Council's demands. They wanted him to set up a blockade around New Terra. No ships would be allowed in or out. No supplies. No medicine. Nothing until the colony agreed to the Council's new tax rates. "They can't be serious," Thorn said quietly. "There are 30,000 people down there, families, children." "The orders are verified, sir," Lieutenant Reed said. "Direct from High Command." Thorn turned away from the window and walked to the center of the bridge. The crew watched him with worried faces. They had served together for years. They trusted him. And now he had to give an order that went against everything they believed in. First Officer Greg Howard stood ready at his station. His usually calm face showed concern. "Orders, Captain?" Thorn looked around at his crew. Chief Engineer Paul Jackson had stopped his work on a control panel and was watching. Communications Officer Olivia Martinez sat with her hand hovering over her console, waiting. Navigation Officer Daniel Ross had turned his chair to face the captain. These were good people. The best crew in the fleet, and the Council wanted them to starve an entire colony. "Lieutenant Reed, what's the supply situation on New Terra?" Thorn asked. Reed checked another data pad. "Not good, sir. They've had poor harvests this season. Their main food processing plant had that accident last month." She looked up. "If we cut them off completely, they'll start feeling the effects within days. Serious hunger within 2 weeks. And the nearest Council supply ship? The Fortitude. Is 3 weeks away, sir?" Thorn nodded slowly. He walked back to the window and looked down at the planet. Somewhere down there, people were going about their day, not knowing that the Council had decided their lives were worth less than some extra tax money. The silence on the bridge grew heavy. Everyone knew what the orders meant. Everyone waited to see what Captain Ryker Thorn would do. Thorn had followed orders his whole career. He had risen through the ranks by being reliable, dependable, and loyal to the Council. Even when he disagreed, he had trusted that the Council had reasons for what they did. He had trusted the system. But this was wrong. By any measure, by any moral standard, this was wrong. "Officer Martinez, open a channel to New Terra Colony Control," Thorn said suddenly. Martinez looked surprised but quickly worked her console. "Channel open, sir." "New Terra Control, this is Captain Ryker Thorn of the UES Dauntless." After a moment, a tired voice answered. "This is Colony Director Frank Morris. What can we do for you, Captain?" "Director Morris, I'm contacting you about the current situation between your colony and the Interstellar Council." There was a pause. "I suppose you're here to enforce their demands," Morris said, his voice bitter. "We've told them already. We can't pay. The Council raised our rates by 300% with no warning. That's more than our entire yearly profit. If we pay, we can't afford to run the colony." Thorn took a deep breath. "I understand your position, Director. I'm calling to inform you that the Dauntless will be sending down shuttles within the hour. We have supplies aboard that we can share. Food, medicine, and some equipment parts." The bridge crew looked at each other in shock. First Officer Howard's eyes widened. I don't understand," Morris said. "The Council said they were sending a ship to blockade us until we paid." "They did send a ship," Thorn confirmed. "But this ship and its crew will not be enforcing a blockade today." For a long moment, there was silence on both ends. "Thank you, Captain," Morris finally said, his voice thick with emotion. "We won't forget this." When the communication ended, First Officer Howard stepped closer to Thorn. "Sir, those orders came directly from Council High Command. This is mutiny? Treason?" Thorn finished for him. "Yes, I suppose it is. I was going to say dangerous," Howard replied. but I agree with your decision. Thorn faced his crew. I won't order any of you to disobey council commands. If anyone wishes to register a formal protest against my actions, I'll note it in the ship's log. There will be no punishment. Not a single person moved. Lieutenant Reed stood a little straighter. We're with you, Captain. Then let's help these people, Thorn said. Lieutenant Reed, coordinate with colony control about their most urgent needs. Officer Ross, find us a position over their main settlement for easier shuttle access. Chief Jackson, I want you to look at our cargo and see what supplies we can spare without endangering the Dauntless. The crew moved with new energy, purpose in their steps. Thorn knew this was just the beginning. The council would find out. They would send other ships, other captains who might follow orders without question. His career was over. But looking at his crew working to help the people of New Terra, he knew he had made the right choice. Later, as the first supply shuttles launched toward the planet's surface, Thorn stood at the window again. First Officer Howard joined him. What happens next, sir? Howard asked quietly. The council will send someone after us, Thorn said. Probably the relentless under Captain Weber. She's the closest. And then? Thorn's reflection looked back at him from the glass, older than he remembered but more determined than he had felt in years. Then we show the council that humanity doesn't abandon its own, he said. We show them that there are lines that shouldn't be crossed. And maybe, just maybe, we remind other captains, other crews, that they have choices too. Howard nodded slowly. You know this won't end with just New Terra. If we do this, if we really stand against the council. I know, Thorn said. This isn't just about one colony anymore. He turned to look at his first officer directly. This might be the start of something much bigger than us. Out the window, the first shuttle disappeared into New Terra's atmosphere, carrying hope and defiance in equal measure. Captain Ryker Thorn had made his choice. The revolution had begun. 2 weeks had passed since Captain Ryker Thorn and the UES Dauntless had defied council orders at New Terra. News traveled fast through space. Every human colony soon heard about the captain who chose to help people instead of punish them. Some called him a hero. Others called him a traitor. The council called him a criminal. The Dauntless moved quickly from system to system, staying ahead of council ships. They had become experts at avoiding main travel routes and jumping to safety just as council vessels appeared. Each time they visited a colony, they brought supplies and took messages to deliver elsewhere. They became a link between worlds that the council could not control. Thorn stood on the bridge looking at a star map. Red dots showed council patrol ships. Blue dots showed friendly colonies. The red dots were getting more numerous. They've added 3 more hunter ships since yesterday, Lieutenant Reed said as she joined him. They're really serious about finding us. Thorn nodded. We knew they would be. The council hates being defied. The bridge door opened and First Officer Howard walked in with a young woman Thorn didn't recognize. She wore the uniform of a council communications tech, but it was wrinkled and dirty. Captain, this is Diane Lee, Howard said. She just arrived on a supply ship from Arcadia Colony. She has information she thinks you should hear. The woman looked nervous but determined. Captain Thorn, I worked on the council command ship Relentless until 3 days ago. I left my post when I heard what they're planning. Go on, Thorn said gently. The council is going to make an example of Jensen's Ford colony, she said. They believe you have supporters there. They're sending 5 warships to surround the planet and demand they hand over anyone who has helped you. If they refuse, she paused. If they refuse, they have orders to bombard the main settlement. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Jensen's Ford was a small farming colony. They had no defenses, no weapons. When is this happening? Thorn asked. The ships will arrive in 3 days. Thorn looked back at the star map. Jensen's Ford was at least 2 days' travel away, even pushing their engines hard. Why are you telling us this? Lieutenant Reed asked the woman. You're risking everything by betraying the council. Diane Lee straightened her shoulders. My sister lives on Jensen's Ford with her 2 children. The council is willing to kill them to make a point. Her eyes flashed with anger. I joined to help protect people, not murder them. Thorn made his decision quickly. Officer Martinez, send a warning to Jensen's Ford. Tell them what's coming. Officer Ross, plot a course there, fastest possible speed. Sir, Howard said quietly, even if we get there in time, the Dauntless is just one ship, against 5 Council warships. I know the odds, Thorn cut him off, but we can't let the Council kill innocent people because of us. Howard nodded. I'll prepare the crew. As the Dauntless raced through space toward Jensen's Ford, more messages came in. Other colonies had heard what was happening. 2 independent trading ships offered to help evacuate people. A former military captain named Lisa Wells sent word that her ship, the Intrepid, would meet them there. This is bigger than just us now, Reed said to Thorn as they reviewed the messages. People are choosing sides. Thorn had been afraid of this. I never wanted a war. I don't think any of us did, Reed replied. But the Council made this about more than just New Terra when they decided to attack Jensen's Ford. When the Dauntless arrived at Jensen's Ford, they found the colony in chaos. People were loading whatever they could onto ships. Parents clutched children and few possessions. Fear hung in the air like a storm cloud. Thorn met with the colony leader, a sturdy woman named Abby Winters, in the main settlement building. We got your warning, she said. Thank you. Without it, we wouldn't have had time to organize any evacuation. How many people have gotten off-world? Thorn asked. Maybe 2,000. We have another 6,000 still here. She looked tired beyond words. We don't have enough ships, Captain. Outside, Chief Engineer Jackson supervised as the Dauntless crew helped load people onto shuttles. The colony square was filled with families waiting their turn, children crying, elders sitting on makeshift benches. Captain Wells arrived with the Intrepid and immediately began taking on passengers. The trading ships filled their cargo holds with people instead of goods. Still, there were too many to evacuate in time. Captain, Martinez called over the comm. Council ships just appeared on long-range scanners. They'll be here in 3 hours. Thorn looked at the desperate faces around him. 3 hours was not enough time. Then another call came in. Captain, we're picking up new ships entering the system, Martinez reported, surprise in her voice. 8 vessels. They're identifying themselves as independent ships from Arcadia, New Terra, and Proxima colonies. Hope sparked inside Thorn. These were ships from colonies he had helped coming to return the favor. The evacuation picked up speed as more ships arrived. Some were little more than transport vessels, but they made space for the people of Jensen's Ford. Crews worked together, strangers helping strangers. With less than an hour before the Council ships would arrive, the last shuttles lifted off. Thorn stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, watching the planet grow smaller below. All civilians accounted for, sir, Reed reported. And the other ships? All jumping to different locations, Howard said, spreading the refugees across friendly colonies where the Council can't easily find them. Thorn nodded. Then it's time for us to leave, too. Sir, Howard hesitated. The Council ships will be here any minute. If we stay, if we fight them now with all these ships on our side. No, Thorn said firmly. Today was about saving lives, not taking them. There will be time for fighting later if it comes to that. As the Dauntless prepared to jump away from Jensen's Ford, Thorn thought about what had happened. He had defied the Council to save one colony. Now multiple worlds were involved, sending ships, taking risks, choosing sides. Where to now, Captain? Ross asked from the navigation station. Thorn considered the question. They couldn't keep running forever. They needed a plan, a base, a way to organize this growing resistance. Set course for the abandoned mining system at Kappa Reticuli, he decided. It's time we stop reacting and start planning. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the Dauntless jumped away, carrying with it not just its crew, but the hopes of human colonies throughout Council space. What had started as one man's defiance was quickly becoming something much larger, a movement that would challenge the very foundations of Council rule. The abandoned mining system of Kappa Reticuli became the new home for Captain Ryker Thorn and the growing resistance. Hidden among asteroid fields and old mining tunnels, ships came and went, bringing supplies, information, and more people willing to stand against the Council. 3 months had passed since the evacuation of Jensen's Ford. What had begun as one ship's defiance was now a network spanning multiple star systems. They called themselves the Free Systems Alliance. Thorn stood in what had once been a mining company's operations center, now converted into their command room. Around him, former colony leaders, ship captains, and others who had joined their cause gathered around a large table. The Council has increased patrols along the main supply routes, Captain Lisa Wells reported. Her ship, the Intrepid, now served as their primary intelligence vessel, slipping in and out of Council space to gather information. They're stopping and searching every ship they encounter. Abby Winters, who had led Jensen's Ford colony and now helped coordinate refugee placement, shook her head. Our people on New Horizon are running low on medical supplies. If we can't get shipments through, we'll find a way, Thorn assured her. We always do. First Officer Howard entered the room, followed by a tall man in a crisp Council uniform. The room fell silent as everyone recognized the insignia of Council Fleet Command. Admiral Benjamin Carter, Thorn said, surprised to see his former mentor. I didn't expect to find you in our humble hideout. It wasn't easy to get here without being noticed, Carter replied. He looked around the room. You've built quite an operation, Ryker. Why are you here, Admiral? Captain Wells asked, her hand resting near her weapon. Carter faced the group. The Council is preparing something big. Something that will crush your alliance before it grows any stronger. He pulled out a data drive and placed it on the table. This contains the details of their plan. A massive fleet gathering, new weapons being deployed. They're calling it Operation Decisive. And you're just giving this to us? Paul Jackson asked, skeptically. The chief engineer had become one of Thorn's most trusted advisors. Why would an admiral betray the Council? Carter's expression hardened. Because I joined the fleet to protect humanity, not to terrorize it. What happened at Jensen's Ford was just the beginning. The Council is afraid of what you've started, Ryker. They're afraid that more colonies, more ships, more people will join you. So they'll destroy us to make an example, Thorn concluded. Yes, Carter nodded. And anyone who has helped you. The room erupted in voices, some arguing to disperse and hide, others demanding they strike first against the Council. Thorn raised his hand for silence. Admiral, he said to Carter, by bringing this to us, you've committed treason against the Council. You understand what that means. Carter stood straight. I do. I can't go back. And truth be told, I don't want to. I've served the Council faithfully for 30 years, believing I was doing right. It's time I actually did. Thorn looked at the faces around him. People who had risked everything for what they believed was right. They were counting on him to lead them. We need to analyze this data immediately, he decided. Lieutenant Reed, work with Admiral Carter to understand exactly what we're facing. Captain Wells, we need to warn our allies about these increased patrols. We'll need to create new supply routes. As the meeting broke up into smaller groups, Thorn pulled Howard aside. What do you think? Can we trust him? Howard considered the question carefully. Carter was always one of the good ones, but even good people can be used as bait. Keep an eye on him, Thorn instructed. Politely. Later that day, Thorn found Lieutenant Reed and Diane Lee hunched over screens, examining the data Carter had brought. It's worse than we thought, Reed said without looking up. They're gathering a fleet of 50 ships at Centauri Prime. And look at this. She pointed to a weapons schematic. New long-range cannons capable of hitting targets from outside a planet's defensive perimeter. They could bombard a colony without ever coming within range of ground defenses, Lee added grimly. Thorn studied the information. When does the Council plan to deploy this fleet? 2 weeks, Reed answered. They're still waiting for the last of the special weapons to arrive from their production facility on Proxima Station. Thorn straightened up, a plan forming in his mind. Proxima Station. where they build their special weapons. Reed looked up, understanding dawning on her face. If something were to happen to those weapons before they could be delivered, it would delay their plans, Thorn finished. Give us more time to prepare. He gathered his core team, Howard, Jackson, Reed, and Martinez, in his private quarters. We need to hit Proxima Station, he told them. A small team, in and out quickly. Not to destroy it, but to disable the weapons they're building for this operation. That's deep in Council territory, Howard pointed out. How do we even get there undetected? Jackson leaned forward. I might have an idea about that. We captured those Council ID transponders last month. We could use one to disguise a ship as a Council vessel. The Dauntless is too recognizable, Martinez said. But a smaller ship might work. I'll go, Reed volunteered. I've done covert ops before when I served in the Council Special Forces. I should go too, Carter said from the doorway. They hadn't heard him approach. I know Proxima Station's security protocols. I helped design them. Thorn studied his old mentor. This would be the true test of Carter's loyalty. You understand what you're offering to do? Carter nodded solemnly. I do. Over the next 3 days, they prepared for the mission. They chose a small, fast ship that had recently joined their cause. Reed selected a team of 4 others with the necessary skills. Carter provided details of the station's layout and security measures. On the day of departure, Thorn stood in the docking bay as the team made final preparations. Remember, this is not about destruction, he reminded them. We disable the weapons, delay their plans and get out. No casualties if we can avoid it, Reed nodded. Understood, Captain. Carter extended his hand to Thorn. I know you still have doubts about me, Ryker. I don't blame you. But I give you my word. I'm with you now, completely. Thorn shook his hand. Prove it by coming back successful, Ben. As the small ship departed, disappearing into the stars, Thorn felt the weight of command more heavily than ever before. Everything was escalating. What had started as helping one colony was turning into a true conflict with the Council. People were risking their lives based on his decisions, his leadership. They'll be all right, Howard said, standing beside him. They have to be, Thorn replied. Because if the Council deploys that fleet before we're ready... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. They both knew what was at stake now. Not just their lives, but the future of humanity among the stars. 5 days had passed since Lieutenant Reed and Admiral Carter left for Proxima Station. 5 days of waiting, 5 days of preparing, 5 days of Thorn checking the communication channels every hour, hoping for word of their success. The Free Systems Alliance continued to grow even during this tense waiting period. 3 more colony ships arrived, carrying people who had chosen to leave Council worlds. A group of engineers from the mining colony of Titan Edge brought valuable equipment and skills. Each day made them stronger, but each day also brought the Council's planned attack closer. Thorn stood in the command center, studying the star map that showed friendly territories in blue and Council-controlled space in red. Too much red, he thought. Still no word? First Officer Howard asked as he joined him. Nothing, Thorn replied. They should have reached Proxima 2 days ago. Howard frowned. Communications might be difficult from inside Council space. Or, they were captured, Thorn said, voicing the fear that had been growing each day. Or worse. Lieutenant Reed is good at what she does, Howard reminded him. And Carter knows the station. We have to trust them. Before Thorn could respond, Communications Officer Martinez rushed into the room. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. On the emergency channel. Thorn's heart raced. Put it through. The screen flickered, showing Lieutenant Reed's face. She looked tired, with a cut above her eye, but very much alive. Mission accomplished, Captain. The new weapons have been disabled. They won't be delivered to the Council fleet anytime soon. Relief washed over the command center. People smiled and patted each other on the back. Well done, Lieutenant, Thorn said. What's your status? We had to fight our way out, Reed admitted. Lost our transport ship. We're currently on board a cargo vessel called the Lucky Star. The captain agreed to bring us part of the way back, but we'll need pickup at the coordinates I'm sending. And Carter? Thorn asked. Reed's expression turned serious. He took a bad hit during our escape. He needs medical attention soon. We'll send a ship immediately, Thorn promised. Well done, all of you. When the transmission ended, Thorn turned to Howard. Take the Dauntless and bring them home. Are you sure, sir? You usually command the Dauntless yourself. I'm needed here, Thorn said. Besides, I trust you with my ship. After Howard left, Thorn met with the Alliance Leadership Council. Representatives from 12 different colonies and stations now sat at the table, each with their own concerns and suggestions. The council will be furious when they discover what happened at Proxima, said Governor Frank Morris from New Terra. They'll realize it was us. Good, said Captain Wells. Let them know we can strike back. Abby Winters spoke up. But what happens now? We've delayed their big attack. But for how long? A month? 2? They'll rebuild those weapons eventually, Thorn had been thinking about this question for days. We can't just keep reacting to the council's moves. We need to change the game. What do you suggest? Morris asked. I suggest we go public, Thorn said. The room fell silent as everyone looked at him in surprise. So far we've been operating in the shadows. Only those directly involved know about the Alliance. It's time to let everyone know, every human in council space. How would that help us? Someone asked. Because most humans in council space don't know what's happening, Thorn explained. They don't know about New Terra or Jensen's Ford. The council controls the information. If people knew the truth, that the council ordered an entire colony to starve, that they were planning to bomb civilian settlements, how many more might join us? The discussion went late into the night with arguments for and against Thorn's plan. Some feared exposure would make them easier targets. Others agreed that public support could change everything. In the end, they voted to proceed. They would send messages to every human settlement in council space, telling their story and inviting others to join their cause for freedom. 3 days later, Howard returned with the Dauntless, bringing Lieutenant Reed and her team safely back to Kappa. Reticuli. Admiral Carter was immediately taken to their medical facility. Thorn visited Carter as soon as he was allowed. The Admiral lay on a bed, his torso wrapped in bandages, looking pale but alert. The doctor says you'll live, Thorn said as he pulled up a chair. Carter smiled weakly. Too stubborn to die, I guess. What happened at Proxima? We got in easily enough with the council IDs, Carter explained. Reed's team was magnificent, professional, fast, efficient. We were nearly done when a security patrol spotted us. He winced as he shifted position. There was a firefight. We disabled the weapons but had to fight our way out. You saved us valuable time, Thorn said. The Alliance is grateful. Carter's expression turned serious. The council won't just be angry, Ryker. They'll be terrified. What we did proves that they're vulnerable. That makes them more dangerous than ever. I know. Thorn nodded. That's why we've decided to go public. We're sending messages to every human settlement, telling them about the Alliance and inviting them to join us. Carter considered this. It's risky, but it might be our best chance. He paused. There's something else you should know. While we were at Proxima, I accessed the Council's secure communications network. They're not just building weapons. They've requested support from the Axari. Thorn felt cold at the mention of the Axari, an alien species known for their military might and their long-standing alliance with the Council. If the Axari join the fight against us, Thorn began. Then, we'll need more than just human colonies on our side, Carter finished. This changed everything. The Alliance had been preparing to face Council forces, but the Axari were something else entirely. Their ships were more advanced, their weapons more powerful. We need to accelerate our plans, Thorn decided. How soon can you travel? Give me 2 days, Carter said. Why? Because I need you to meet with someone, Thorn explained. The Novan ambassador has been quietly watching our movement. They've been oppressed by the Council longer than humans have. If the Axari are getting involved, we need allies too. Carter nodded in understanding. A human-Novan alliance would change the balance of power. Thorn stood to leave. Rest up, Ben. Things are about to move very quickly. As Thorn walked back to the command center, he thought about how far they had come. What started as one act of defiance, refusing to blockade a single colony, had grown into a movement that might reshape the political landscape of known space. And if the Axari were joining the Council's side, then what had been a rebellion was about to become a war. 1 month had passed since the Alliance went public with their cause. The response had been greater than anyone expected. Humans across Council space stood up and joined them. Some came with ships, others brought supplies. Many simply offered their skills and their courage. The mining system of Kappa Reticuli had transformed from a hideout into a bustling base of operations. At the same time, Admiral Carter's mission to the Novans had succeeded. The tall, blue-skinned aliens had suffered under Council rule for generations. They agreed to join forces with the Alliance, bringing their advanced technology and knowledge of Council weaknesses. Captain Ryker Thorn stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, looking out at the fleet that had gathered around them. Over 60 ships of various sizes now flew the blue and silver colors of the Free Systems Alliance. Among them were 5 Novan vessels, their sleek designs standing out among the human ships. "It's an impressive sight," Lieutenant Reed said, as she joined him by the window. "More than I ever imagined when this began," Thorn admitted. First Officer Howard approached with a data pad. "The Council fleet has been spotted moving toward Centauri Prime. 53 ships, including 3 Axari cruisers." Thorn nodded. The moment they had been preparing for was finally here. "Are our people in position?" "Yes, sir," Howard confirmed. "Alliance ships are ready near each of the 5 target locations. The Novans are standing by as well. And our special surprise?" Howard smiled slightly. "Chief Jackson says it's ready. He's quite proud of what his team has accomplished." "He should be," Thorn said. "It might be the key to this whole operation." The plan they had developed was daring. Instead of meeting the Council's massive fleet head-on, they would attack 5 different Council bases simultaneously. These bases contained the communications relays that controlled all Council ships. If they could capture or disable these relays, they could disrupt the Council's ability to coordinate their forces. Meanwhile, a smaller team led by Thorn himself would strike at the heart of Council power, the central command station orbiting Earth, humanity's ancient homeworld. Thorn gathered his senior officers for one final briefing. Around the table sat the people who had been with him from the beginning: Howard, Reed, Jackson, and Martinez. Admiral Carter was there too, now fully recovered from his injuries. Joining them were Captain Wells and representatives from the Novan ships. "You all know your roles," Thorn said. "This isn't about destroying the Council. It's about giving humans and other species the freedom to govern themselves." "The Council won't see it that way," Carter warned. "They'll fight to maintain control." "That's why timing is everything," Thorn stressed. "All attacks must begin simultaneously. We need to overwhelm their response capability." Everyone nodded in understanding. The plan depended on coordination and surprise. "One last thing," Thorn added. "Whatever happens today, remember why we started this. It wasn't for power or revenge. It was because we believed that people deserve better than what the Council offered. We're fighting for a future where colonies don't starve because they can't pay impossible taxes, where people aren't punished for wanting basic freedoms." His words seemed to strengthen the resolve in each face around the table. "Now let's bring some freedom to Council space," he concluded. The officers dispersed to their ships. Within an hour, the fleet had separated into smaller groups, each heading toward their assigned targets. The Dauntless led a group of 7 ships toward Earth. Using the advanced cloaking technology the Novans had provided, they slipped past the outer patrol ships undetected. On the bridge, tension filled the air as they approached the massive central command station. It was a sprawling structure of metal and lights, the physical embodiment of Council power over humanity. "We're within range," Howard reported. "No indication they've detected us." "All ships report ready, Captain," Martinez added. Thorn took a deep breath. "Deploy Jackson's device. Chief Engineer Jackson activated the special weapon they had developed, a modified version of the Council's own communication technology designed to override their systems. If it worked, it would temporarily freeze the station's defenses without harming anyone on board. Device active, Jackson confirmed after a moment. Station defenses are down. It worked, Captain. All ships, move in, Thorn ordered. Boarding. Teams prepare for deployment. The Alliance ships shed their cloaking shields and swarmed toward the station. Council personnel on the station scrambled to respond. But with their automated defenses offline, they could do little as Alliance shuttles docked at multiple airlocks. Thorn led one of the boarding teams himself, with Reed and a group of soldiers following close behind. They moved through the station's corridors, stunning Council security forces with non-lethal weapons. Their objective was the main control room, where the Council's 5 representatives directed operations throughout human space. If they could capture the Councilors themselves, they might end this conflict before more lives were lost. As they approached the control room, they encountered heavier resistance. Council elite guards fought desperately to protect their leaders. "We don't want to hurt you," Thorn called out to them. "We only want to speak with the Council." "The Council doesn't negotiate with rebels," one of the guards shouted back. A firefight erupted in the corridor. Reed took a glancing hit to her shoulder, but kept moving forward. Slowly, they pushed the guards back until they reached the massive doors of the control room. "Jackson, can you get us in?" Thorn asked over the comm. "Working on it, Captain," Jackson replied from his position back on the Dauntless. "Their security is complex, but got it. Doors opening in 3, 2, 1. The heavy doors slid open, revealing the 5 counselors standing around a large table. They looked surprised but not afraid. "Captain Ryker Thorn," said the lead counselor, an older woman named Eleanor Pierce. "We've been waiting for this day." "Then you know why we're here," Thorn replied, stepping forward with his weapon lowered. "The Council's rule over humanity ends today." Pierce smiled thinly. "You think it's that simple? That you can just walk in here and change a system that has maintained peace for centuries?" "Your peace has come at too high a price," Thorn countered. "People starving, colonies bombarded. That's not peace, it's oppression." At that moment, Martinez's voice came through on the comm. "Captain, reports coming in from all targets. All communication relays have been captured. The Council fleet is in disarray, unable to coordinate their responses." Thorn looked at the counselors. "Your fleet can't help you now. You have a choice. Work with us to create a new system where all species have a voice, or step aside and let others lead." For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then reports began appearing on the Council's own screens, news of Alliance victories across Council space, of human worlds declaring their independence, of Council ships standing down rather than fighting. Pierce looked at these reports, then back at Thorn. "It seems the people have spoken," she said finally. "What do you propose, Captain?" "A new beginning," Thorn said simply. "Where the Council serves the people, not rules them." As negotiations began, Thorn stepped away briefly to contact his crew. Throughout Council space, the revolution they had started was succeeding beyond their wildest hopes. What had begun with one captain's refusal to blockade a colony had grown into a movement that changed the course of history. Captain Ryker Thorn had defied the Council and started a revolution that would ensure freedom among the stars for generations to come.